Welcome to the Missionaries Podcast. Stories from the mission field to learn and enjoy. Your host for today is Martin.
And welcome everybody to this new podcast. The topic for today is use your spare talents as a missionary. And with that, I want to say hi to Kay. Kay, welcome.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
You're from all the way from the US. That's not in the neighborhood from Germany, not at all. I was reading a passage in the Bible. Well, we all know this passage, the parable of the bags of gold, aka the parable of the talents. And there we see in the Bible that we have to take care of our talents. And although the story in Matthew 25 talks about bags of gold, the talents are also time that God gave us. It's the money that God gave us. It's every single breath that God gave us. And we might as well use every breath that we have for God's glory. And, well, we're missionaries in Germany right now. We just moved from Poland. And although we've got a pretty busy work week, to say the least, that doesn't mean that every single minute is filled. Sometimes we have a client that cancels an appointment, and all of a sudden, we've got 1 hour or 2.5 hours, some sort of free. And so the question is, what are you going to do? What are you going to do if you're on the mission field and you've got 1 or 2 hours? And what are you going to do? And then we came in contact with Kay. And Kay is doing some sort of missionary work online.
So I am a volunteer at Groundwire. I was on staff for over 2.5 years. And it's been definitely a blessing. It's the best way, it's the most effective way that my husband and I have found to share the gospel online.
What is it? What do you do there?
A chat ministry.
A chat ministry. Okay, so you don't see people, but you chat with them.
Only by texting. It's on the phone or computer, so you just type to them, and you don't see their faces or hear their voices. Although now we do have a platform, and so I can talk about that. But go ahead. Did you have a question for me?
Okay, so you don't see their faces. You only chat with them through an online platform, and they do you make appointment? Do you have some sort of appointments that they say I'll be online at 2:00? Are you going to be online, or is it totally random?
It's random unless you first chat with them and then they agree to come back and chat. But it's usually just one-time interactions. They come in through usually like Facebook ads. They'll see an ad for our site, and not that they're going to pay anything because it's free for them, but they see the ad, they come to our site, sign in as whatever name they want to use. It doesn't have to be their real name.
Okay, so it's completely anonymous.
Yeah. Like if somebody wants to be anonymous, they could just put like their only one initial. Some people do that, so we never know what their real name is necessarily.
Okay, that's interesting. Hey, and so you're online working as a missionary, and people can come online. Why do they come online to begin with?
Usually because of some kind of problem in their lives. They're often depressed or going through grief, or they're anxious about a test coming up. We have every imaginable topic. We get trolls and people who make up stories, which sometimes doesn't always come out at first, but it'll be a little bit off, and it's kind of like when we find out later, but that's okay too, because we can plant a seed. But yeah, pretty much every imaginable topic. People come for advice, like if they are dating and they don't know if this person is best for them, so they'll just want advice, or about like going to college, choosing a career. They want to know God's will. Sometimes they want to get closer to God. That's another one. Like people will just want to grow spiritually, or they'll have fears of being unforgivable. They'll have fears that either they did something unforgivable, they've sinned too much, or it's like questions about the unforgivable sin that Jesus spoke of. That seems to be a big thing that people struggle with sometimes. So pretty much every imaginable topic.
So I guess, let me paint a picture. You go online and totally random, you'll get people who are willing to talk about any sort of topic.
Mm-hmm.
And those topics are also completely random.
Yeah, and sometimes because, they type in the topic before they, as they're signing in. So they have a name and a topic, and sometimes the topics won't be exactly as it appears. Like, you might expect to get one thing, and that makes people nervous, I think, because, not necessarily everyone is ready for just any topic, and so let's say it's the topic of depression, and so you think, okay, maybe I can handle this, and you pick it up, and I think that there's a level of anxiety sometimes for new coaches, just the pressure to say the right thing, and there's uncertainty too about what exactly this person is dealing with, and so those are challenges, but there is support online too. I'm a team lead, and the team leads are often there to help, if there's a tough topic.
Okay, so yeah, well, I guess it's the same as in in the real world. I mean, yeah, what's real? But when we talk to people on the street, it's the same. You'll ask them questions. Hey, how are you? To a homeless person. Hey, how are you doing? Yeah, well, I'm homeless and I'm struggling with being homeless. But then you'll have to ask yourself, but there's a reason why they're homeless. And there's a reason behind that reason. And there's a reason behind that reason. And it takes a while to figure out what the real topic is. And it takes some patience, I guess, to figure out what's really going on. Interesting. So you don't see them, you don't have a clue what their expression on their face is. You don't see if they're crying or not. You don't have any clue.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's impressive. How do you deal with that if you don't see their... I mean, facial expressions are a huge part of our work.
Mm-hmm.
To see how somebody sits, to see how somebody's smiling or not, if he's crying or not. In your case, you don't see anything. How does that work?
Well, yeah, I mean, that is a challenge. And, tone of voice is also something, like, I always prefer video calls over anything, really. Like, I prefer video calls over talking on the phone or texting. But there is an advantage with chatting. I'll get to that. So you're asking how do we deal with that? I like to ask listening questions, and that's what they teach in the training, to ask listening questions, and that is where you listen to what their problem is, and you ask a question based on that, and you try to be reflective. So if they say, I feel down because I failed my test yesterday, well, then you can ask something else about, based on their feeling of having failed, and you can ask more questions about their situation and dig deeper to sometimes discern, like, if there are relationship issues, that'll be quite complex sometimes, and so you can just ask questions to dig deeper, and that does take some I guess, like, creativity in the moment, being able to think into their situation, to imagine yourself in their shoes and to ask questions based on that to help bring it out, because they don't always know what to say. It's kind of like, where do I start? And they just say something. And so when we ask questions, it helps, it shows that we are engaged with what they're saying, and it helps to bring it out. And that way they feel heard, because if we just jump right into advice, they might just leave, because they're not ready for that. I've made the mistake even knowing better. Like, I just did it by accident one time and the person corrected me. I was like, oh boy, I knew not to do that, And so I think that, with the lack of facial expressions, as you were saying, one way to deal with that is by asking questions, to see how are they feeling? What is their experience? So not only does it help their situation, help them feel heard, but it also can help bring out those feelings more, so they can express it more freely.
And it's up to you when you go online or not, or do you have a set schedule? Do you have to be online between 10 and 2? I mean, how does that work? How flexible can you be?
It's very flexible. They do prefer you to come on regularly, at least, I think it's at least 2 hours per week for regular volunteer. As a team lead, I'm a volunteer team lead now, so I have to be on at least 4 hours a week. But I think the minimum is 2 hours a week for a regular volunteer, and it can be anytime. It is preferred if you can try to commit to a certain time, so you're expected to be there. And it might also help you personally if you have kind of a commitment, like to be there on, let's say it's Friday night from 7 to 9 p.m. or something like that. It is good if you can, but anytime really. If you just
Okay.
have like one spare hour here and there, that's great.
Oh, that sounds very flexible. I mean, I can imagine. I mean, if we look at our life as missionaries, well, there's not one day that's the same as yesterday. Every day is a huge surprise. We very often make plans, have schedules, have appointments, but they change every single day. But that does mean indeed that if one of our appointment doesn't happen, we could go online for an hour and see if we can catch some fish, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. That's interesting. Hey, where do your how do you call the people who are going who are getting are they chatters? Are they clients? How do you call them?
We call them chatters.
Chatters. Okay. Where do those chatters come from?
All over the world, pretty much. I mean, obviously not like North Korea. But pretty much all over. We get a lot of people from obviously the US and India.
Okay.
Just because, there's a high population, and they also, a lot of them know English. So we get a lot of people from India. Sometimes it'll be random countries like Egypt or Iran or, like Vietnam. We'll get just random places sometimes. So it really is a worldwide ministry. And we also have a Spanish side too. So if any missionaries that are listening, if you speak Spanish, we also have ajesuslaimporta.com, importa.com. And that reaches multiple countries that are Spanish speaking. So that's great too.
From my perspective, I mean, I'm from the Blessed West, in between air quotes, whatever Blessed West is, but okay. And my perception of a lot of stuff from the Bible is also influenced through my own culture. But if you get a chatter from, I don't know, you said India, their perspective of God is a totally, or could be, I don't know, could be a totally different perspective of God. How do you deal with that? I mean, let's say somebody comes online. Hey, I'm still single. I don't know, 50 plus years old. I'm looking for a spouse. The answer to a person from Germany could be a totally different one than one from India. Some countries have arranged marriages. Well, what do I know about arranged marriages? Nothing. I know that they exist, but that's about it. So how do you deal with cultural differences like that?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the situation. So you mentioned their perception of God. And so from India, if you're talking with somebody from India, I think the biggest thing obviously is to make sure that, we clarify that this is the one God, the God of the Bible. He is the creator. And I think that helps to define him, as the creator of the universe, because otherwise they might be thinking of, just somebody to be worshipped, because some people's definition of God is just anything you worship, which I guess, that can be biblical too, because it talks about like the other gods. It's not like they're real gods. It's just that that's what people are worshiping. Right. And so, but yeah, as far as like communicating to them, this is, the God of the Bible, the creator of the universe. And the interesting thing is that about half of India, I think, if I'm getting this right, because there's also another statistic that I'm trying to keep separate from that, but I think that about half of India believes that there is one God in many manifestations, with many manifestations. So they think that he can have this character in this situation, and he can have this other type of character in that situation, which I don't know how that works, because because obviously your character stays with you wherever you go, but according to the Bible, God says, I do not change. And so that can help to define, because if you believe that the God of the Bible is, at least somewhat accurate, because if they believe that there's one God, at least with many manifestations, well, if he says that he doesn't change, he can't be in all these different manifestations. So I think that would be a logical way to take it, that the ones who do believe in one God with many manifestations, to clarify that about his character, that he doesn't change. But for the ones who believe in multiple gods, I guess that might have to be a little bit different. To maybe you might have to go through the accuracy of the Bible or something like that to show, that Jesus is the only way. What was I going to say? At least if they have a respect for the Bible, which they usually do, then you could take it down that road to lead to Jesus being the only way. We usually don't get any Hindus who are hostile to Christianity. I hear about like in northern India that they'll often want to kill pastors. I only have ever had one person from India who was hostile to Christianity. He just came on, and I think he said a curse word. Like he just said something bad about Jesus. If I remember it, he just said something bad, and it didn't really go very far in our conversation. But yeah, that's pretty rare. Usually they will respect Jesus. So that might answer your question for cultural differences about that. But also you asked about like arranged marriages, and there are life situations that are different. I mean, also with India, they'll put their parents above their marriages sometimes.
Yeah. It's more a we country than a me country. And from what I see, I've got a couple of friends from India, and that's a typical we country. So we as a family, and we as a family is very important. And if I look from my background, from my perspective, my cultural background is more me. So if there's a question is who is more important, well, me. And then family goes second. But from my friends from India, no way, Jose. Their family comes first. If their parents say A, it's going to be A. And that's when I talk with my friends from India, for me, sometimes that's a totally different world. I'm like, hey, you've got your responsibility also towards God. So no matter what your parents say, it's your responsibility, and it's your you'll have to stay in front of God sooner or later, and not your mom and dad.
I mean, as adults, we still do honor our parents, but I believe that obedience is not like required as much as it would be like if you were under 18 still living at home. I think that's, obviously God expects God expects children to obey their parents, but as an adult, we still do have a response. I mean, we have a responsibility toward God that's not dependent on, obeying
Yeah,
our parents.
definitely.
And especially with a family of your own, I think that causes marriage problems sometimes, because if, let's say, this couple got married and they're living with the wife's parents, and then it's like the mother-in-law is getting involved in stuff, or if it's they're living with the husband's parents, then they're getting involved in stuff, and so it just causes complications. And so, you could say something like, well, the Bible says, to leave and cleave, but I don't know, they might not always be ready to apply that because of the way that they've just grown up, So it is challenging.
Yeah, I like that you say that your answer is going to be, hey, the Bible says A or B. So the Bible is your guideline and not per se your culture, your own cultural background.
Yeah.
That's a good one, I guess. We do the same. We talk with people from, I'm not going to mention every country, but for instance, Ukraine. And their culture is totally different than ours. So if they have questions, my answer is 99% of the time is, well, my opinion is not that important, but let's have a look what the Bible says.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that God knows better than me. I mean, who am I to begin with anyway?
Of course, yeah.
So why don't we have a look what God says? And then on then we're on some sort of neutral ground. Then God is my shield in the conversation. God says A, and although I might not understand why God says A, if he says A, we might as well do A.
Mm-hmm.
And that helps a lot in conversations with people from different cultures. Instead of saying, well, I was raised blah, blah, blah. Or my parents told me blah, blah, blah. Well, just great. People in the Ukraine are raised differently than I am. So I do like it when you say that you use the Bible as your very practical foundation, I guess, in conversations.
Yeah, and always there are going to be life situations that the Bible doesn't, tell you individually specifically what to do, but the Bible does say to ask for wisdom, in James 1:5, and, kind of through the next couple of verses, it's saying also to ask in faith, and so you ask God for wisdom and trust that he's going to give it to you. Well, then he can direct you on what to do. And so that is one thing that I found very helpful, is to if there is a situation where they need advice, some situations are kind of risky where you don't want to give the wrong kind of advice. So I just like to say, we can pray together, and here's the promise from the Bible that God promises wisdom when we ask in faith. So, take it to him and he can show you.
Huh. That's a great way to do it. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. Hey, and okay, so you get people from all over the globe. You can go online whenever you've got a spare hours whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
The questions come in randomly. Mm-hmm. So you cannot prepare beforehand on topic A or B, since you don't know what the question is going to be.
Kind of. I mean, there are common topics that come up. And so, like I said, depression is a very common topic, and it's not always going to be clinical depression. That's probably 5% of the time. I don't know what the statistics are in depression. I'm just kind of guessing based on the people that I've talked with. It's usually going to be circumstances that, or like past trauma, that causes people to be depressed. There's also sometimes I think there could be spiritual oppression or like negative thinking or something that's causing it. They don't always know what's causing it. Sometimes they just feel down and they don't really know why. And there's also anxiety. There's like I said, about getting closer to God. That's another big one. There's sin. Like people often struggle with pornography. And the thing is, here is what makes chat ministry so great. They won't always tell their pastors, or somebody else, because, it is embarrassing. There's shame to it. So it's hard for them to confess, to somebody in person, but with chat ministry, we can't see their faces, hear their voices, and we don't know them. So, it's pretty risk-free for them to tell somebody, online. um,
That gives great opportunities, I guess.
yeah, and so we get that topic quite often, like pornography, sometimes it's alcohol or drugs. I guess, there's just these different topics people come with that they wouldn't tell in person. Like if they're having an affair, that's kind of rare, but I have had that topic where somebody was having an affair. So these are opportunities where, you wouldn't have these opportunities in person. But yeah, it is good to prepare for these things. Just all the basic life problems that people deal with. Marriage problems, that's another thing. Or like they're going through a divorce and they're just very down about it. And maybe they're, struggling with a custody battle. So just all kinds of life situations. There are things you can prepare for somewhat. It is random. So for the random things, like I said, there's usually team leads available. I feel comfortable with pretty much any topic because I have a way of like navigating conversations. And I actually have a pattern for chats, which if anybody joins, come and look for me. I go by KT online, so you can look for me and ask for a pattern for chats because I like to have a way to navigate. We actually the basic pattern that the trainer came up with. One of the main trainers is Diana. Diana has an acronym called LETS, LETS, and it stands for Listen, Empathize, Transition, and Share. So you start out by listening to the problem, empathizing, then you transition into the gospel with certain open-ended questions. You share the gospel. And so I made a pattern based on that, like certain questions you can ask. And that gives it some direction so you don't feel the pressure to feel like you have to be a therapist or something. I think, some people might feel like they have to be like a counselor, but it's not counseling, And in fact, it's a little bit limited as far as what we can do, as far as, the kind of things we can say. We can't give medical advice. We can't give legal advice. So it's, there's not pressure to give the perfect answers for everything. What was I going to say about, okay, so as for let's, for people who are saved, if you ask, let's say, can you share how you came to faith in Jesus? Would you mind sharing your testimony? And so from there you can see if they are truly saved. And let's say they'll answer, I got born again when I was 15, and God changed my life. That's a pretty clear testimony. Okay, from that point, you could just encourage them in their situation. You can pray with them. So like I said, there's not this pressure. The main thing is to share the gospel if they're not saved, and if they are, then you can encourage, share scripture, pray with them. And then, like I said, if it's advice, then to encourage them to seek God, until He answers. Does that answer the question?
Okay. It also sounds like if you want to join a platform like that as a coach, it's not like here's the key to the chat box and go ahead. It's like it sounds like there's a complete program of studying, mentoring. Is there something like that?
Well, yeah, there's the training that comes first. That started, I guess, 2.5 years ago, or maybe 3 years ago. So now that's pretty official. When I started in 2017, there was no training program. There was a little bit, I think we had some videos, and then there was also I think there was the initial interview by video call, but pretty much it was just here you go. And I did have a mentor, but anyway, now it's more official, as far as like there's this official training program. I heard there's a certificate at the end of it, and so it's like 11 hours last I knew. I don't know if they shortened it, but there's how to use the technology and how to go through these steps. Like I said, LETs, that pattern, and then after the training, so you graduate, you have a practice chat. Okay. Last I knew, there's a practice chat with the trainer, where the trainer comes in as a chatter, and so they'll have a topic. It's like a mock chat.
Yep.
So you're expected to listen to the problem and lead into the gospel. But by the way, I should also say that the time when we transition into the gospel is maybe about 10 minutes into it. Could be like 20 minutes into it. That way they've had enough time to share their problem and feel heard. I just wanted to throw that in there, just as kind of a tip for knowing how to guide conversations. But anyway, so they have the practice chat with the trainer, and assuming that they did well with it, then they have their first chat with a real chatter, and that'll be monitored. And then they pass the training. They graduate from the training, and if they don't pass, then they can try again. I've seen that where they've had to go through the practice again, but that's okay. And then there's the mentoring. So for mentoring, that's what I do. I'm a mentor. I was paid to be a mentor for over 2.5 years, and then I decided to go back to volunteer mentoring. So now I only have like 2 people that I watch over. Before this, I had like 10. So there are multiple mentors on the team who will read the chats, and it doesn't have to be at the same time. We don't have to be online at the same time while it's in progress. We can see chat at the same time, but we don't have to sign on when our mentees are on. So when the new coaches are on, you can request, like you could ask your mentor if if you're nervous or something, you can ask to meet them at the same time. And so I've done that. I've met them at the same time sometimes, but it's not required. And then so we read the chats, and we're there to encourage and to give feedback. If there's a tough chat, we could say, here is something you can do for, let's say it's an atheist, and if you want resources for apologetics. So sometimes if somebody has a tough chat with an atheist or something, then we mentors, we give resources, that can help them to improve,
Oh, that's cool.
So there's that. The support, I think, helps new coaches to be confident after the training and the mentoring.
It sounds like a great opportunity, to be honest. It doesn't sound like it's always easy, though.
No, it's not always easy. It's doable. It's definitely possible. And that's why I'm definitely encouraging the support. I think, since I am a mentor, that's why I, feel the need to encourage, because I know that, new coaches are often nervous. That is one of the obstacles in starting out with anything. They'll often be nervous.
Well, just as I said, I think it's a great opportunity for people who are already on the mission field to join for a couple of whatever time you've got, and be more effective, I guess. Just as I said, this part in Matthew 25 with your talents. I think that a lot of missionaries have a lot of talents. And why don't we use them more, I guess, or more effective, or... And then this might be a great opportunity for them to join.
Yeah. And another thing I've thought about is retired missionaries, or like on the road, on furlough. If missionary wives are just in the on the passenger side, driving around, it can help to have something to do, ministry-wise,
Yeah.
that free time.
If we're traveling, we spend quite a lot of time in an airport doing nothing and just waiting. And why not? I mean, open up your phone, and as long as you've got an internet connection, it sounds like you're good to go.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Should I talk a little bit more about the nature of chats and things like that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, please do.
Okay, so I want to say chats are kind of fast-paced because, especially when we have young people, their attention span is pretty short, so we do have to kind of be, quick in our responses and everything like that. But, like I said, it's good to follow that pattern, of listening and transitioning to the gospel. And another thing is we also have Facebook Messenger chats that are built into the system. So you don't have to log into Facebook to get to these chats. They're built into our software.
Okay.
Yeah, they're integrated. And so they come in like regular chats, but they're slow-paced if you want them to be, because this is going to people's phones, a messenger. And so if you have to take like 5 minutes to think of an answer, or even if you have to take a break, go somewhere for an hour and come back, the Facebook chat will still be open.
Yeah, that's a good option.
Yeah, and also we have Discord now. Discord was originally a gaming community, a gaming platform, but now a lot of people are using it for community. And so that's what we have now. We have a Discord community for chatters, and this is after they make a profession of faith, or any new believers. It's also, they come in through, I think through TikTok. I think there's a thing for it on TikTok where they can go to the link and join. And so it's a great opportunity on there, because actually we can actually talk with them on video call.
Oh, you do?
We have, yeah, which I'm still surprised about that. It started last summer, and it's still kind of surprising to me that they would even allow us to talk on video call, because I'm used to having the privacy and everything. We still don't share our last names or anything like that, but it's still, it's great. I love having the opportunity to be able to see them on video, and to interact, at prayer meetings and things like. We have prayer meetings, Bible reading, Bible study on video call. We have worship night. Well, worship night is usually listening to music, so there's not much interaction, but that's good too. We have a lot of events on there, and there's just a lot of activity. So that's another aspect of the ministry that I really enjoy.
But it's up to you as a coach if you want to do the video chats, or if you want to join the Facebook chats, or if you want to do the anonymous chats. It's up to you which part you're into.
Although I'm not sure if they would want me encouraging somebody to join only for the Discord community. I think the expectation is that you would take regular chats, at least fulfill those 2 hours. But I'm just saying that there is that option also.
Okay, so the main part is the anonymous chat function. That's the main part. Okay, that's cool. I mean, for me, I'm like, I'm not into video stuff.
Yeah.
I would love to do the chat part. Although it sounds challenging, it does sound like a great opportunity. But at least if I have the option to do face whatsoever. Okay. Yeah. How long does a conversation take on average on your main platform, the anonymous
The average, my average, it seems to be about 45 minutes. And I heard that from someone else, about 45 minutes. Some chats will go on for a really long time, but you can kind of control that too. I mean, if it's somebody who's long-winded, and they just want to share more and more and more about their problems, or if they're going in a negative rut, or if they're arguing, you can kind of wrap up the conversation and say, well, I have to go pretty soon, but let's go ahead and close in prayer and, wind down.
Okay, that's
like
good.
that.
That's good. Okay, so an average of 45 minutes. Oh, that's doable. That's doable. Interesting. What else do you have? Come on.
Okay, I'm looking through my notes. Looks like I already did. Well, I wanted to share just one good story from somebody that I chatted with. He was a cultural Jew, and I think he was not like super into Judaism, but he was considering Christianity. And in our very first conversation, he just had questions, and we agreed to communicate by email. So that was not a profession of faith. It was a gospel presentation. But as we were communicating by email, I was able to stay in contact and answer his questions. And through that, he did make a profession of faith. It was about maybe 2 months later. And that was encouraging because, we don't always see the fruit in the very first chat.
Yeah.
But that's a seed that's planted. And then especially if we can follow up with them, then eventually, that can be a profession of faith.
Oh, wow.
So,
I mean, that's the other thing. I mean, do you see that happening more often, that people come through Christ to God during a chat session? Does that happen often?
Yeah, it does happen pretty often. I don't know if the understanding is always there, because with chat ministry, it's a little bit challenging, and sometimes some coaches will rush through. So, we have to be really careful to not make this something like a cookie cutter, just rush into the gospel,
Yeah, next. Yeah.
Yeah. We really want to take the time. So I'm not sure, like how often it is, but it is pretty often.
But it does happen. Oh, wow. That's encouraging. I mean, let's be honest. A lot of missionaries are working on the mission field, and, well, they're sowing. And it's very encouraging that there are other options to evangelize as well, where chances are higher that you can actually see somebody come to God through Christ. That's encouraging.
When I was on staff, I was online a lot more. I was on Groundwire at least 24 hours a week, but I also liked volunteering in addition to that. So sometimes it would be like 45 hours a week. And so I'd be supervising, but I'd also be taking chats sometimes too. So let's say if I was chatting for 18 to 20 hours a week, I would not always see a profession of faith every week, but it might be like every 2 weeks. Like maybe about 2 people a week, 2 people a month, So, yeah, and so the more that you're on, of course, the chances are going to be higher. Now I'm not on as much, and so I haven't had a profession of faith lately.
Okay. Yeah, but still.
But yeah, I mean, if you happen to have like 18 hours a week, I don't know if the chances of that, but let's say if you're on furlough, if you have, like maybe 20 hours, 30 hours a week, if you're just on the road, then, you probably will see professions of faith quite often.
Wow. That's encouraging. I mean, a lot of what we do, part of our ministry is coaching, counseling, and therapy for missionaries. And a lot of missionaries are struggling with, I'm working on the mission field, I'm working, and there's nothing happening. And that can be quite discouraging sometimes. But let's be honest. I mean, if you're a farmer, you work 51 hours in a year, and there is only 1 week that you'll actually harvest. But you're working for 51 weeks in a year, and nothing's happening. I mean, you're working with manure. You have to plow the fields. That's a rough job if you're a farmer. And for missionaries, I guess it's the same. It's a lot of plowing the fields. It's a lot of tough work. But this sounds like also an encouraging opportunity for the missionaries themselves. Yeah. Oh wow, I'm impressed.
Mhm.
I'm impressed.
That's about all I had to share.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's end this podcast with thank you very much for your time. We'll leave some links in the description for the people who are listening. And, well, that's it for now. Let me end with...
Thank you for listening to our podcast. If you have any questions or would like to learn more about our work, please visit emmy.foundation. And remember the last words Jesus gave to you all, as we can read in Matthew 28 verse 20b, and surely I am with you always, to the very end of the age. No matter what happens, no matter how good or bad your days go, Jesus is with you. You can trust his promise, no matter what.